Dear guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear representatives of the media, of the press, first of all, a very warm welcome here at Messe Essen. I also would like to extend a very warm welcome to the participants in our live stream. We are extremely proud because we've got so many countries represented. India is here, Belgium, the Netherlands, Turkey, the United States is joining, also the UK. So a very warm welcome to all these countries around the world where you are following our live stream. My name is Karina Bastuk and I welcome you very cordially here on the occasion of our SCHWEISSEN Schnneiden press conference 2025. And we are proud to be the world leading trade show for joining, for cutting, for surfacing, so the technology, and we are talking about joining, we are talking about welding, and we are always talking about the entire industry. Dear guests, there is one thing that I would like to say in the beginning. Even though the economic situation around the world is still quite gloomy, we here at this show in Essen, we are quite optimistic because the forecasts are quite good and we look ahead very positively, especially because we are here together, because we do things together and because we will thus strengthen our fitness for the future. So the industry can be very proud. Join the future. This is our slogan, and this is also the slogan for the side events of the trade show and our press conference. And in order to give you some impression, a few points on our agenda today, we've got very interesting guests. We'll talk about the facts and figures in the industry. We'll talk about some details on the show and also the core issues discussed at the trade show and options for making you fit for the future. And at the end, dear guests in the live stream and dear guests here on site, we have the opportunity to ask questions to the speakers. During the live stream, you can already write your questions into the chat and the people represented here live can ask the questions directly. At the end of the press conference, we'll have a little snack and then you have the opportunity to ask more questions to our guests or to record a teaser or do interviews with our guests. Now let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to welcome you here. Everybody is smiling, even if the weather is not so good outside here in Essen. We have a good atmosphere and we would like to start now with our host, Oliver P. Kurt, who is the general manager of Messe Essen. And I also look forward to Dr. Roland Böcking, who is the general manager of DWS, the German Welding Society, and he is the strong and reliable partner for Messe Essen for the SCHWEISSEN Schnneiden trade show right from the start in 1954. This also needs to be mentioned. A very warm welcome to the two of you. It's great to have you here. Dear Mr. Kurt, the 20th trade show. How do you feel? I've got the impression that this is quite a special show here, and you are proud. Can you give us an overview of the show? Well, first of all, thank you very much for this introduction and a very warm welcome to everybody here at Messe Essen. I'm quite happy to have this press conference here in online and also in presence. Everybody is here in order to get information about the show and some background information. Probably you already saw it when you came here. Things are moving quite a lot and the halls are already quite busy, and this is quite normal because it's of course more difficult to prepare this show than a show for consumer goods, which are easier to show. So we already started in August to prepare this show, and the exhibitors are really taking enormous efforts in order to implement their booth for the show. Before I will now share facts and figures on this year's trade show, I would like to give you some information on showing how difficult it is to set up everything for the show. We have statistics from the year 2023, but it's more or less in line what we expect this year. So the logistics around this show, we normally lay down around 35 kilometers of electricity cables, around 3 kilometers of water pipes, 1.8 kilometer of compressed air lines. We have more than 3,000 transport requests in the 2 weeks of setup and dismantling, 6 mobile cranes, 40 forklift trucks, and 900 trucks with up to 15 tons of weight are used here. And this is quite a challenge here for Messe Essen because we are right in the city center. And as always, this is really a masterpiece logistically and technically, and I'm very grateful to the team because this, of course, requires a lot of preparation. And I also would like to thank the exhibitors who are supporting us here. This sounds great already. For normal people, these are huge figures just to imagine, and all the work that is happening behind the scenes. You also created a wonderful structure together with your team. So what does the SCHWEISSEN Schneiden Trade Show 2025 look like? Well, this show in 2025 looks like what you can see behind me. This is the attempt to show you something in a graph. We've got more than 800 exhibitors from 44 nations who came here together under the slogan Join the Future, and who are presenting their products and solutions along the value chain of joining, cutting and surfacing, from market leaders to hidden champions and even startup companies. And especially the association, the federation that Mr. Böcking is representing, is also trying to motivate young players for the industry. The floor plan that you can see here shows that in the halls 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and in the gallery you'll find a focus on welding proper. Cutting is shown in halls 6, 7 and 8, and then in all halls we have companies from other areas: surface technologies, heat treatment, gas technologies, consumables and additives, equipment, safety, health, quality assurance, services and digitization, because this is also a topic which is getting ever more important for this industry. And this is reflected in the floor plan as well. And I'm especially happy about the many national and joint stands. We've got exhibitors from 44 nations, joint stands from China, France, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, North America and Slovakia, which represent their portfolio in official country pavilions. And this really emphasizes the international radiance. 70% of exhibitors come from abroad. This is an exceptionally high percentage, which is unprecedented in the global world of trade fairs. And we are, of course, extremely happy to see this again this year. But we also have a lot of German companies, including the young companies who present themselves in an area which is especially sponsored by the Federal Ministry for the Economy in Hall 3. For example, we also have 6 young startups domiciled in Germany, which will present their innovations under the heading of Young Innovators. So it's a great mixture between the traditional old hands in the industry and the young startups. And For the young startups, we, for example, have one company showing a fine dust warning system, height adjustable welding tables, or the Weld Cart, a mobile welding workstation. So these are all topics which are supported, which are sponsored in order to give young talents the opportunity to also get a foot into the market. The opening hours, and this is also part of statistics, are from Monday, September 15 to Thursday, September 18 from 9 till 6. And on Friday, we'll close a little early at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a show only for trade visitors. Thank you very much, Mr. Kurt. Dear Mr. Böcking, today in the press conference we will also have another look at the market figures with two other guests, but I would like to hear about your personal opinion from the point of view of DVS. What do you think about the current market situation? Thank you very much. Well, we can't live without welding. This is something that I would like to say right at the beginning. There's no cruise ship, there is no wind energy converter, there is no pacemaker which can be produced without welding. And of course, we are dependent on the development of the world economy. You do value study every 4 years, and perhaps I can mention one figure. We've got around 417,000 jobs in Germany focusing on the application and production of these technologies, and this is round about a volume of 30 billion euros per year in Germany only. In the European Union, of the 27 states, we've got 1.1 million people working in this industry. And we can now share information on the period between 2019 and 2023. And the first 4 quarters in 2024 were not so good, but in the first quarter of 2025 and also in the last quarter of 2024, we can see an upswing, and we now are at the right time for the industry. So it's well planned. Success is also dependent on a good plan. As an association with more than 125 years of experience and around 17,000 members, you are right in the center of the industry and you know exactly what is happening. What are the trends and future perspectives in your industry, and how is this reflected in your work in your federation? Well, Mrs. Bastock, we of course also can't know everything, and this is why we have our normal procedures, and I would like to mention the research. Our research institute that we have operated by DVS for a long time already. This is unique, and we've got a network of 85 universities, our own research institutes and the universities who are dealing with these technologies. I brought you some information. There are around 250 different procedures we deal with. This is one. This is what you definitely know. Also, the gentleman in the last row, this is the e-hand welding, and this is something that is used on construction sites. Here you see one of the welding lines, and this is only one out of 250 procedures we are dealing with, and we can't do everything alone. In order to say that in research and in our statements and comments we are leading worldwide, we have between 12 and 15 million funds that we get from the ministry and distribute to the universities. Then we have a lot of committees and working groups of medium-sized industries who advise us and who give us some information on better application-orientated research. And the results can also be shown here in our DVS Congress. Institutes and others present the latest trends in the industry. What are the latest trends we can see? Of course, this is focusing on energy, sustainability, hydrogen, mobility, But you can only put this together if you also know about the individual procedures. There is additive manufacturing, gluing, but also surfacing technologies. And one example I can mention is, for example, the brake discs, which are also now surfaced in order to reduce the fine dust emitted. And this shows that we see our technologies in all walks of life, in all the areas of our life, and thanks to the support of the universities, we can show where we are and what we can do. You said in the pre-discussion that everybody at home will find something that has been welded in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the office, and this is really quite true. So perhaps you could also walk around in your own home and check where you find welding.
It's quite a lot. It's a great technology that we are presenting at Schweissen and Schneiden. Mr. Kurt, that sounds overall like a lot of challenges we're facing, but for us it is something we can cope with easily, let me put it that way. When we look at the program of Schweissen und Schneiden this year, where can these topics be found? Are they reflected anywhere, and are there answers to these challenges? Well, it's a justified and very good question, because we do not only want to do a product show here. That would be quite simple. We would just present our equipment and hope that everything works here. But this is not how a world-leading trade show works. We intensely prepare and inform ourselves in the run-up to the next trade show. And we're working with our colleagues from DVS and other associations to see where the journey is taking us, so that we're also giving information about the future and showing the way. And this helps us to really have a good event when we can present the right messages also for the future and help the industry to head in the right direction. We know that people would like to network, would like to learn from each other, and for that we have this week with Schweissen und Schneiden and the motto "Join the Future." So together we can really implement it best. And our supporting program was based on the experience of what we did last time and in the years in between, and prepared it in a new way. And the core is the Future Hub in Hall 7. It might be a bit small to read for you now, but let me pick out a few items. We have 40 speakers sharing their know-how in 44 different presentations. And they're exhibitors and partners of this trade show presenting, and the startups we just mentioned, and they're also part of this hub. They're presenting pictures of their products, and we also have Nederman as an exhibitor applying for the IF Digital Award, so we're looking forward to seeing them. And this is a new industry award. We focus on digitization and make it a very tangible new challenge. It's something our visitors can also participate in. The jury is the audience itself, and you can vote digitally also via the Schweissen und Schneiden app. So that's a great thing. And we would really appreciate if all of you also voted who of the 20 applicants will win gold, silver, and bronze. And Mr. Wettel and Twain Dreisacher will also speak about that later. So we have the first time that we have pavilions working together, and we have the associations in alliance, which is something new. So a lot of associations coming together in Hall 1. We have 19 different associations from all over the world who are presenting their wide array of topics, from qualification to further training options. And visitors will also be able to leave their footprint here And DVS is internationally well connected, is a great supporter for us to also find the right association. So thank you very much for this very intense cooperation. Then we also have our young talents and career areas, which is playing an important role in this industry as in other industries too. It's very close to our hearts, and this is why we have the career area for the first time in Hall 6. And the professional visitors can define and find open jobs, and HR experts are there for networking and connecting. DVS is also offering a trade show program here, so thank you very much for having this. We had a shorter preparation period. Usually it's 4 years. Now we have a 2-year period only for preparation, but it was very intense and worked very well. So a lot of things are happening. It's a very highbrow participation. It's a great level of networking and connecting, and we have a very great depth with regard to content and expertise. So everyone will find something interesting here. Well, the supporting program sounds really exciting. So in the framework and the supporting program, Dr. Böcking, as a platform, is it interesting for the DVS in general? Well, let me briefly give you some context. Well, it's a world-leading trade fair. We've been working on that since 1952. This partnership is that old. And we are very present here on site as an association. Well, in an association, there are different opinions. What do we do? Why are we here? We can put in work, but there are different opinions. And we just heard that 65 to 70% international exhibitors are here. That's quite a large number. We have international collaborations. We have Sharjah, Sao Paulo, Mumbai, and Beijing as collaboration trade shows. And that shows very clearly in the International Institute of Welding, that is the World Organization of Welders, 60 nations are represented, and you meet once a year. So more than 1,000 delegates from around the globe. And in times like these in which we live, it is important that nations at this scale somewhere meet on the globe to discuss technical topics and to let the politics fall behind a little bit. So do we build ships in Korea is what politicians would discuss. But in DVS, we now have a German president of the association. We have a board of directors with 15 representatives representing the 60 nations. We always have a seat there too. And to come to this trade show means that we are present. DVS holds 25% of 700 companies and has 750 different employees being represented there, meeting their customers then also here at the trade show. So we have global certification, we have rail car manufacturer elements that are represented by our members. Namibia, Bulgaria, and Albania are nations starting to talk to us. So it's ideal to be present here and to be seen. Well, it sounds very interesting. Growing together, strengthening each other, really developing the industry. That is what SCHWEISSEN und Schneiden does since 1952 or 54, the 22nd time. Well, you presented the supporting program, and we can really see how enthusiastic you are about the trade show, the program. What are you personally looking forward to most? What can the participants of the trade show really expect? Well, it's not that easy to say that. I generally look forward to the trade show Schweissen und Schneiden because it has a very large, radiant aspect to it. It's seen and heard, and the 70% of international participants. It's always great to see. We love to walk through the halls in the run-up of the trade show to see what is being established here, what is built up is really enthusiastic, and it needs to be completed by the opening date. So overnight, they really need to finish all the preparation work on the ground, but it always works. So the industry presentation on the one hand, the highbrow program on the other hand, that is a very big challenge for us. But the many new things that have been created from the team, also in collaboration with the association, will be a success. You can see that in the presentations, in the workshops. And we're always a little bit nervous, but it's a very nice feeling when you see that everything turns out to be something positive. We also have the trend of sustainability, of digitization, and the lack of skilled workers, and the political conditions in which we're acting. We're not forgetting about those either. We're concentrating on the days here in Essen, but we're also in exchange. More than 800 exhibitors will be here, even though we have very difficult political conditions. They have it fixed in their calendars, and they always come and show their products here, and this mix is very good. We have top decision makers here, we have great conversations, and we have an exhibitors party for some emotional aspects also, so we're really looking forward to the days ahead. That's great, and I can see one more chart here, the highlight connecting continents. You already touched upon it briefly. Well, this is even a stronger focus on internationalization. So we have delegations signing up, coming to visit, and that is also an indicator that we're not working behind closed doors, but really are seen and heard. I think Morocco just signed up last as, Slovakia. Okay, I mixed that up. But we have presentations from Morocco, Brazil, China, and Slovakia. But also the Consul General from Morocco will attend. And I invite all of you to join us in the Future Hub on the first day at 3 o'clock. So we will be able to meet there to talk about the collaboration on an international scale projects in the pipeline. It will certainly be a highlight, and we expect quite a lot of international attendance. Thank you very much, Mr. Kurt. Dr. Böcking. I am now looking forward to a very interesting item on our agenda. If we go back, join the future, that means we're moving things, we're shaping the future, we're putting an effort in, and in this context, there is another aspect, the new young talents. So when we look at the need for skilled workers and talents in the future, for you personally, that is something that's very close to your heart, right? Let us know what you think. Not only DVS thinks it is important, you personally do. Why? Well, we all know that on the side of education, well, it's very hard to find young talents and to train new apprentices. That's the same in all industries and all trades. Maybe let me give you a few figures. DVS is taking education very seriously, and we have the only closed education system, application system. Welding is not closed. The industry, the trade helps you to be an apprentice and then also work as such, and if we don't do that, others will do it. We have 270 training institutes that train according to our standards. So in total, that's 95,000 exams in Germany regularly, and we do have the skilled workers. We also have young talents, and you don't have to speak German perfectly. You just need to have the skill. And since many years, we are contributing enormously by training young people who do not speak German perfectly. They just need to weld. They need to have this ability. And on the academic side, we are also training engineers. So if you have an academic degree of engineer, you can participate in our training. And we have 800 of those per year. So we're promoting academics as well. And we, for example, collaborate with higher education institutions. And we're also presenting them to global fora. For example, if they want to speak and give a presentation there, we pay for the travel costs, for example, and the engineers can present their progress. And welders, for example, can be seen on the exhibition as well. We have a pre-selection of experts and also have international competitions for welding. And the finalists can come here. 13 nations apart from Germany, Switzerland, India, Bulgaria, and others are here. Greece, I think on Friday, they will compete here, and the best team will be found and win a prize. We also expect 250 students or pupils we invited who will come and see us. So very young participants can have a look at what welders actually do. There are also hands-on experience areas, and there will be guided tours for them. And that sounds like a very complete program for them. And it's something that might be remembered by these young people for a long time and maybe later pay back. There's also a Youngster Day. Can you say something on that? Well, yes, right. We're expecting the pupils. That is the Youngster Day. And that's also organized with the DVS region. And we have local and regional association chapters, and the ones surrounding the trade show organized this. And we can find people from HR or who already study that, and they will talk to the young people so you can see what it's like. You can see that you can also work internationally in other countries. So if we're using these technologies like joining, cutting, surfacing, you can work all over the globe. Yes, that's true. They're needed everywhere, and different nations have different foci. For example, shipbuilding in Korea. They can be used anywhere.
So the skilled workers of the future will be here in order to get information. Yes, they come to the Youngsters Day. Okay, thank you. This was it for now, Mr. Kurt, Mr. Böcking. Very many thanks for sharing so many details about the industry, and I wish you a great show. But I can already see that your eyes are bright and that you are looking forward and very optimistic. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, we already heard about the young talents, and we heard that talents are an important topic, and it's important to support young staff, and this is one of the central tasks for DVS, to really find young people who focus on this joining technology. Is it difficult? No, it's not difficult because welding is fun. This is what I was told, ladies and gentlemen. And in order to also make you see this, we said that we now want to invite a young person into a welding booth, and he has prepared something for you last week at DSI in Gelsenkirchen. This is an international workshop by DVS, skilling welders, and we accompanied him and we saw what he can do. Isn't this exceptional, young, dynamic and successful? And we, of course, want to see this young person. Here he is, Mika Daldrup. He is a plant mechanic. He learned at Hagelschule and he is now also upskilling in mechanical engineering, and he is a participant of the Young Welders competition with the DVS national competition. That's great. Welcome to you, Mika. Well, you brought something you produced. Perhaps the camera can show this. This really looks great. This was a lot of effort for you. What exactly did you do? And perhaps you can also tell us what welding is. Well, I've got one of the welded pieces here. You can see it here on the floor. And this is now something that you normally do in an exam. And this was the team task. So 4 people are needed in order to produce this, because you've got different welding seams in different procedures. And my task in this case was the TIG seams, because I'm a TIG welder. I can tell you that welding is the art to join 2 different materials or metals, but for me this is not all. Welding has become a lifestyle for me, because if you look around in the welder's bubble, you see who has the nicest welding helmet, who can do the most wonderful welding seam. We are sending around videos how we produce exceptional welding seams. We also check YouTube for tutorials in order to get better. So welding has really become my life. Okay, thank you. And now you are also participating in the national DVS competition. Why and how is it done? Because this welding piece that you prepared for us, you brought it, will you then have to weld something new live on stage? Yes. This will be done again as a team task on site during the show. And coming back to your question, why I participated, well, you normally start slowly. I never guessed that I would now be standing here in front of such a big group of people. But I really wanted to work with metal. My father is also a welding specialist. My grandfather has been working with metal sheet. The other grandfather is training people. My brother is studying mechanical engineering. So if you see us all, our family, sitting around the kitchen table, metal and metal joining is our topic. And my mother, unfortunately, she has to bear with it and endure it. But my father pointed out that there is this competition. He is also active in DVS, and he told me, well, listen, why don't you participate in this welding competition, because this is also a wonderful opportunity to advertise your own company. Well, that's great. And this also became true. Yes, there is good advertising for the company. And so I first started at the regional level, and then now I'm here for the national competition. If so many people around you are welders or do welding work, what do we have to be able to do in order to be a good welder? What types of competencies are needed? The most important characteristic is patience, because welding is not a natural movement, or is not something that comes natural to you, but you just have to learn it with patience. You have to be skilled with your hands. You have to be very precise. You have to go for perfectionism. This is something that you need because the hands are doing different things. It's warm, it's dark. You only focus on one specific spot, and this is something that you have to learn. You have to develop this. So patience is the most important characteristic if you want to become a welder. And is this an issue for you? Not for me personally, but it also depends a little bit on the procedure. I am a TIG welder, so I'm not so much affected by combustion fumes and sparks, because the piece is prepared and cleaned beforehand, so it doesn't affect me too much. But if you take a look at hand welding, for example, that we discussed earlier on, there is more dirt. It's a dirty environment, but it's still an established technology that you can see on the show, and there are many exhibitors during the show that are focusing on modern protective equipment and improving protective equipment, extraction of fumes, for example, or welders' clothing. So back to a lifestyle, you can then look for the best clothing that protects you against the dirt. Now you are a welder, you now also want to be a mechanical engineer. Great. Can you tell us what you want to do in the future? Do you want to have your own company with 500 people, or do you want to work in a small area? Well, these are my plans, but these are still secret. I don't want to talk about them. Yes, secrets must be protected. But this is so nice about the metal profession, because if I take a look at metal working, there are so many different trades, so many different ways of working, so many different metals, so many different parts, so many different sites. So now I have decided to become a welder, but there are so many other options I can use for the future, so I'm not very sure yet what I want to do in the future. Now, of course, during my training, I look around, I take a look at many companies, and hopefully I will then develop my own ideas, and perhaps I will be sitting here in the future. Thank you very much. It was fun talking to you, dear Mika. All the best to you for your career, and also good luck for the competition. And thank you very much for to DSI for giving us the possibility to record the video and show what is happening. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will dive deep, and we will show you that the joining technology is driving innovation and makes a huge contribution to adding value in Germany, and we'll also compare figures between Germany and Europe, and we will show to you that joining is also a hidden champion for climate protection. This is something that we'll discuss with Professor Uwe Reisken, who is the professor at the Institute for Joining and Welding at Aachen University, and we'll also talk to Mr. Jemecek, who is working at DVS, also focusing on joining and similar technologies. So they are professionals, they know exactly what it's about, and ready and just in time for the SCHWEISSEN and Schneiden. DVS will publish a study on the creation of value in the CJS technology in Germany and in Europe. First of all, welcome to you. You prepared the study. How important is welding technology in Germany, and what are the central results that you can already share from this new study? Well, you already talked about the study, and I really have to know to tell you that I do not know the name. It's the value creation study, and you first of all have to understand and interpret this study in the right way. We've got a value creation study, and here you can see some facts and figures presented there. This shows the status in the year 2019 compared to the year 2023. Some people might say, okay, these are old figures now. No, we do not necessarily want to reflect the current economic situation with this study, but we want to show how important the industry is for the economy here in Germany, and the figures are very important for this. Here you can see a lot of, well, what should I say, a lot of bars, and some people at DWS always say that my charts are too complicated, too complex, and this is also true for the one here. If you compare the two bars here, on the one on the left for you shows the value added as such, and on the right you can see the working population busy in this industry, and you can compare 2019 to 2023. These are the studies that we normally present before the next SCHWEISSEN and Schneiden trade show, and in 2019 we had 25.3 million euros, and in 2023 roughly 30 billion. And this is quite positive, and the number of people working in the area dropped down a little bit. And if you take a look at the general economic situation in Germany, it's not surprising, because we also see a lot of automation in some of the welding technologies, so that some welders' jobs have been eliminated. But it also shows the development of the industry in general. In order to understand the value creation, you can see various bars, and you can see the effects. It are the smaller bars, and effect 1 describes the added value that you can achieve with joining technology. So if you walk around the show here, what you can buy here is reflected and summarized in effect 1. Effect 2 are the consumables and the additives that you need, additional materials, gases, everything that you need to do your welding. This is also something that you can buy here. So effect 1 and effect 2, these is representing the manufacturers that are exhibiting here on the show. So you can say this is not very special, but effect 3 that you can see here, the long bars, this is the effect that you see if you take a look at welding technology in all the different manufacturing areas in Germany, in all the JCS technologies. You can see a huge lever. If you take this together, if you take 1 and 2 together and compare it to effect 3, so normally welding technology is very simple, and you've got a factor of 10, and then you can see what it means for the manufacturing industry in Germany. So you achieve a factor of 10 by using welding technologies and the consumables and additives. And if you have this in the back of your mind, and if we then also see how many contracts we have in the industry, then you just have to use the factor of 10. This is what you can see in order to see the added value that is created in Germany. And also for the working population, we've got 420,000 workers in this industry roughly in 2023, and it's roughly 4% of the working population in the manufacturing industries in Germany.
Shall we move on? Look at the European Union and the 27 member states. How relevant is Germany for Europe with regard to welding technology? I think we're in a very good position there. Well, we try to keep it simple here so that you can immediately see it. The value added, also the employment numbers on the right side can be seen for Germany and then reflected in the total with the EU 27. Dr. Böcking already mentioned it. These are the core numbers. But Germany, with its manufacturing industry, is a very relevant market for the industry with a 25% share. That's my favorite chart, if I may say so, because we do have quite a good position here. Now, shall we move on one step and also look at global trade? You look very seriously, or do we need to say something here? No, I'm so happy that you really like it. Yes, I really like it because it's very clear and it has a wonderful message. What position does Germany take regarding import and export? Next to the value add study of DVS, we also have the production values for Germany, and we also have an annual study for the production values in Germany for welding and cutting. And these are figures we just worked out. These studies are always published in the expert magazine in DVS in the September issue. And you can see the export and import situation of welding technology or joining, cutting, surfacing technology into Germany and out of Germany. On the left side, you see the import numbers, which are sorry, on the left side, it's the export of German welding technology. On the right side, import. So we have a reduction of about 10% in Germany. These are figures if you watch the news in the evening in the last 3 days. Apart from the current valuation of the economic situation in recent months, always got the message that production is on the decrease. And what's exciting to see here is that you can see where German welding technology is shipped, and that is reflected also with the exhibitors here in at the trade show. 70% international participants, and the same is true for the import and export situation. Looking at the imports, that is really similar, the 70. We did not agree with tamper anything here. So interesting about the export situation. United States have roughly 14.5% of exports, China 11, and Poland is now in third rank with a 6% of exports from Germany. And you are watching the news, you're reading the newspaper. The economic situation in the US and China is currently not the same as it was a couple of years ago. There were challenges, and you can see that the numbers reflect a decrease in exports of 40%. And in China, the number is also decreasing by about 11%, and Poland had an increase of 16%. So you can also read the news, and in Poland, a lot of things are manufactured, new manufacturing elements, and that really increases the export. Where's the largest increase in exports, and why is that so? Well, why is it so? Well, you cannot always tell, but you can see and observe that we have a key technology with a joining technology that is really required in all industry. And Dr. Böcking said there are 250 different joining technologies. There might be even more in the association. And if we look beyond our daily work, we can look at what kind of joining technology is required in what industries. And if you look at the different goods categories, you can see that particularly the equipment of welding equipment had a decrease of 16% in total. And that's the total. And we have resistor welding, for example, that was a decrease of 30%. So these are mainly used in the automotive industry. So you might see that this is a field where there is a decrease, but in parallel, welding power, like welding arc technologies and other more the other latest technologies are on the increase. So in these countries where there's a decrease, there's no welding. But we would like to look at the different applications and how they develop. You can see that by looking at the consumables, how many fillers were used and what kind of gases were used, and you need those for welding. And the decreases, I talked about 16% of the equipment and 38% of the resistance welding, where we have a decrease of 4.5% only for the gases. So welding is still very relevant and not as much decreasing as we see in the overall figures. So the different welding applications are being used, and by buying the consumables, we see that it's still working well. And we still have one more chart showing us the light at the horizon, the silver lining, so to speak, to motivate us. What's your forecast? Well, I just wanted to emphasize that welding technologies are just great. And I think I explained that also in detail. But if you now look at the different institutions and what kind of forecasts they are giving for Germany, for example, we have KfW Research an outlook on the economic development for Germany. There's a slight increase in the news yesterday. They said it might be less than 0.2%, and in 2026 we should be hopeful that our industry and joining technology can be increasing again in Germany and Europe. Well, thank you very much. And I already said that sustainability could be a hidden champion. And in the welding technology, sustainability will play a very important role. And, well, there are challenges, but also great opportunities. And DVS had a study carried out on sustainability in welding technologies that was implemented by the Institute for Welding and Joining Technology of the University of Aachen. Professor Reisken, you're here. In the past, we heard that it's a bit dirty and you shouldn't really use it, not so great. But now, looking at the aspect of sustainability, the opposite is true. And adjoining technologies seem to be a very sustainable topic for production in the future. How can we understand that? Well, let's start by looking at the chart. From my point of view, there's a shift in paradigms currently. On the one hand, we are required by our society to use our resources in a very careful way because they are finite. And we do have that in mind, but don't really do anything about that. Production always needs to be fast and cheap in the best case. Everyone wants to buy affordable products. That's deeply enshrined in our heads, but that cannot be our goal for the future. Oh, it's very blunt, but if we want to survive on this planet, we need to change. And with that, we need to act more sustainably. We need to be careful and very cautious with all our resources, and we need to use our technology so that we're not only cheap and fast, but produce products and develop them in a way that consume very little resources, are able to be recycled, and on top we have the political pressure of the Green Deal of the European Union, which clearly gives us a regulatory framework how we have to set up companies in the future. And with this focus, we tried to motivate people active in the joining industry. We asked them what kind of problems they're facing. That's not on the chart, but we always also wanted to find out what all the regulations of the EU mean for people in the industry on all levels of companies. So the effect is a bit frustrating because it is a lot of paperwork to do. But on the other hand, there's a lot of motivation in it. When you look at this picture, for example, there was a case study. It's a very simple component that is produced in thousands of pieces to construct facades. And the orange dots and lines are the weld seams you can see. How is it produced? Well, you take a piece of plate and you cut a triangle from it. And then you have the hole of the triangle in the center, and you throw it away. It's scrapped, it's molten again, and in this process it's recycled, but it costs a lot of energy, and we're wasting material. And with that, you can see how the material flow for such a product works. More than 90% of the resources put into the production went into the production of the steel. And the cutting and welding that's down here only has a very small percentage. So the message, we as joining and surfacing engineers, we're causing the least harm for the environment in comparison to the other process steps. Because you said welding sounds like something dirty, we're not healthy, but that's complete nonsense. It's quite the opposite. And if we're moving on the next chart, you can see that more than 90% of the greenhouse gas emissions, so the carbon emissions that are generated, come from the basic material. And only 1% from the welding process. So we can lean back, we're very safe, we're healthy, we're good for production technology. But we can do even more. Now, if you use joining technology in a smart way, if you think about what you're actually doing, and how with a single weld seam you can make even more progress. Well, we looked at this component and we said, well, we'll just skip this one bracing line here and just add another weld seam here. What is the effect? And you can see it on the right side. The carbon emission from 11 kilograms to 7 reduced. So 30–40% reduction of carbon emissions just by using intelligent welding or joining technology. That's a particularly simple example because all of you who are not engineers should also be able to grasp that concept. And as I said in the beginning, I learned from my old professor, the best weld seam is the one you don't need, because other technologies are easier to apply. We heard from the young gentleman here that you need to be skilled, you need to be good at what you're doing. That also applies to machine welds. Well, we are trying to do our best. And if you want to make everything even more sustainable, in this case, more weld seams can possibly make the production smarter. We're in a very great environment for welding here in Germany. We have a lot of good cooperation with the association, and in the study we can see that a little bit. Germany is one of the leading technology leaders with regard to welding, and for our industry there's a great opportunity. So the knowledge we have can really be implemented in production so that for humanity and Germany we can do something good and even make good money. So welding seems to be, or joining seems to be, a key technology if we use it in a smart way, and it can help our competitiveness, right? So let's quickly build a bridge to the trade show. Now, 1 week before the trade show, we can make sure that we also place this intelligent use at the trade show in a very visible way. Well, yes, there are a lot of companies who want to sell the equipment for production and also the needed gases, for example. They also have great application technology in the companies. So if I have a product that needs to be welded, I can go and talk to these companies. For example, I would like to have a new welding technology for my toaster. And the companies would like to sell their equipment, but on top they can deliver the know-how, how to do it best. So we're not only getting the product sold, but also a transfer of knowledge takes place. And for that, a trade show is of utmost importance. I don't know on how many trade shows I've talked to people. I've been in the industry for more than 40 years, so 9 to 10 of these trade shows I attended, and people walk through these halls and say, "Oh, it works like this? Oh, yes, that can be welded." Well, for those who are not so deeply involved in welding and joining, can learn quite a lot at a trade show. Perfect. That's it. Then, with that, I would like to thank Jens Jetzenbeck and Professor Reisken, and I'll see you back later. Or do you want to say something else?
Now, as you're asking me, yes. Well, we'll talk about the survey later on. I also learned something, because for the first time I learned that welding is a lifestyle. Yes, that's a great slogan. Well, I've been in the industry for quite some time, but I never heard that. And we also talked about the question whether welding is dirty, and also regarding sustainability. Professor Reisken showed us that 10% of the CO2 emissions can be reduced. And here we are at the show, and we are trying to optimize our technology, but seeing welding as a lifestyle is something that might sound strange if you first hear it, but then you just have to take a look at how the industry developed. Welding being dirty, this is something that is no longer true, because we've got new product developments, new process developments, and this exactly means that we are no longer dirty. You are a TIG welder, but we also have the arc welder, we've got the hand welders, and if you walk around the show, you can see that we are talking about welding processes which don't have a lot of welding fumes. We are talking about products that can reduce the fumes, and this is also reflected in what you said. Welding is a lifestyle. We'll have to discuss it again. Perhaps we can use this slogan for our purposes as well. And this also fits in very well to the topic of sustainability. I also was asked, join the future. What does it mean for the industry? I had to think about it first, but basically it's obvious. We have all these positive impacts and seeing welding as a lifestyle. Processes without any fumes or with fewer fumes is very important, not so dirty, that you really know exactly what the process is about, what you do, and seeing it as a lifestyle is really an excellent approach. Thank you very much, Mr. Jetzenbeck. I was told that we have to speed up a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainability and young talent. Let me be brief. We'll now see a company on the stage that is producing sustainable products and also is here at the show and has become big here at the show. It's a company which started in 2013 at a joint booth of 9 square meters. They were joining the funded joint stand funded by the Ministry of the Economy. In 2017, they already had a floor size of 100 square meters, and this success story is going on. So I'm looking forward to Patrick Reuter now. He is a welding specialist. He studied mechanical engineering. He is part of the quality management department of Reuter GmbH, and he is the son of the founder of the company, Olaf Reuter. Warm welcome to you. And here you've got a microphone. It's great to have you here, and we are very happy that you didn't accompany your father to the United States, but you prefer to come here. Well, your company has a climate neutral cleaning process using electrolytes. What does it mean, and what do we have here? Can we change the microphone, because this apparently doesn't work? Hello, can you hear me now? That's excellent, thank you. Well, you normally know the classical etching and grinding procedures, and we offer an alternative. We offer electrochemical cleaning, and this is very advantageous because we don't have to work in the traditional way. We just have an electricity source, and we've got carbon brush with many carbon fibers, and this is much less dangerous for the human being and for the environment, because we are working a lot with phosphoric acid, which you can also see E338. You can find it in your Coke, and this is less dangerous, less harmful to the human being than other pickling agents. And we also tested this together with some institutes, and we also showed that we have very low emissions. You are doing the cleaning with carbon brushes, so very sustainable. But another question to you. What is the importance of Schweissen and Schneiden for you personally? Because you came here as a small company, now you grew, you are a very successful company. Yes, Schweissen and Schneiden has always been a very important show for us. We are situated quite close, quite near here, close to Düsseldorf, and as you said, in 2013 we were here for the first time on the joint stand. 9 square meters. My father was completely alone here. I think he only had 2 employees in his company at the time, and 4 years later it was already a lot bigger. There Schweissen and Schneiden was in Düsseldorf, and we had a larger stand, and we also had developed much by that, because in 2013 we already got a lot of orders, and we had to work through the orders, and then we developed further, and by 2017 we saw a wonderful development. We extended our product range, and we developed new equipment, new apparatuses. We are in automation right now. We have different approaches, different solutions. So a wonderful company that was born here. And now let's take a look at the product. We've got a video for you, dear audience, and you can see what is happening. Here you can see the carbon brush with the electrolyte, and this is with an automatic electrolyte supply. It comes through the nozzle and it's electricity controlled. And here you can see exactly how the colors are changing. And here we've got our working tables with the equipment, and it is our goal to offer a complete system to our customers, not only the equipment, but also the additional equipment, the working stations, and also the environmental products around this. We really want to find solutions for all the customers. If something new needs to be developed, we are here for the customers. And here you can see the auto brush, which we presented in 2023 for the first time. And there is another feature to have less wear, because the carbon brush normally is consumed, and normally you would have to readjust the robot, and here the robot will readjust the brush over and over again, will make sure that the brushes are okay again, and this means that the brushes will always have the right length. This is easy to code, and it's also a technology for the future. And here you can see how the robot works. This is a test rig that we normally show during trade shows, but for the customers, they can also visit us and see how it's done in-house. And here you can see the cleaning, and then we have demineralized water to quench it, to clean it, and then the component will be dried with compressed air. So this is one way of electrochemical cleaning in a fully automatic way with a robot head, but I will show you another way. Here you can see that a piece is taken up. It takes a while. So now the workpiece is taken up, and now we've got the welding seam. A sample is welded. We just have to press a button and the robot is doing it for us, and this will then be cleaned. So it's the other way around. Now we've got the workpiece at the robot, and then we are going through different cleaning stations. Let me show it to you. It's not the most wonderful welding seam, but we are cleaning it afterwards anyway. Well, great products. So let's go through the process. Again, it takes up the workpiece. It has to cool down a little bit. Here you can see the 3 carbon brushes. And here you can see all these colors are removed. Then it's again cleaned in water. And now the drying process with compressed air, just like a Dyson hairdryer. And here, then it gets the signature on the stainless steel. This is what you know from your silverware. You also have your little signature on your stainless steel. Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Reuter. Have fun during the show. Say hello to your father, and we'll continue with our program. You already mentioned coding, and this is now a buzzword for the next speaker. I would like to ask Mr. Jetzenbeck to come back to stage, because one of the core topics of SCHWEISSEN and Schneiden 2025 is digitization, and to be more precise, the digital transformation of the industry. And here we have a study, a 4-week study that is running until mid-September in order to see how important digitization is for welding and adjacent industries. And it is quite clear that we have a lot of potential here for further growth. Mr. Jetzenbeck, great to have you here again. You want to show the first results. Yes, I'm also love to be back here. I am here on stage for the second time, and it's quite easy to explain. DVS is dealing with a lot of topics that we also present here on the show. Digitization is something that DVS has tackled a few years ago. 3 years ago, we, for example, had a survey in order to see how digital the different companies are and how far they use digitization solutions already. And the result of this study was that we still have room for improvement regarding the use of digitization, especially if you take a look at not only some isolated solutions, but a holistic digitization solution for the companies to become more productive and more sustainable. So we want to take the same study again in order to compare where we were 2 years ago and where we are now. Of course, this chart is difficult to read for you, but I would like to present some of the results. Let's first of all take a look to the upper left. Here the question was, how do you see yourself compared to the Industry 4.0 solutions? And there are different sizes, up to 50, up to 1,000, more than 1,000 employees in the company, and then people could answer, we are worse, we are the same as peers, we are a little better, we are much better. And on the right, where you think you are positive, people were not very sure, and they were quite careful about their own position. And I would like to pick out some of the results. We also asked in the individual industries, what is the stage of digitization in your company? This is now on the upper right. And here you can see different industries, and some people said, we already implemented some measures, but these are the bars to the far right, which are not very high. And some people said, we are only in the beginning, and this is on the far left. And this goes to show that the use of digitization still needs improvement. Some initiatives were taken, but it doesn't suffice yet. And you already saw the figures regarding production and value creation. To use digitization in such a way that you can benefit is important. Many companies in the beginning told us we use digitization to document what we need to document based on our regulations. But they didn't use digitization to optimize their processes and have a more economic approach on their work. If we now show this on the show, then many companies will say, okay, we can help you use digitization in order to improve your processes. It's not only the products, but it's also engineering know-how which is required. So regarding digitization in the joining technology, we still have room for improvement, and we have to use it in order to get fit for the future. This is why we use digitization and why DVS will continue to focus on digitization. Thank you very much for this, Mr. Jetzenbeck. Now I will move on to the next topic, but one question first. 60%, this is also reflected in your survey, are not yet planning to use digitization. And this is a point which I would like to come back to now, because the next two guests will also give you some ideas how every company, also the smaller companies, can use digitization, networking in order to improve. 60% was correct, wasn't it? Yes, 60% was correct. And finally, I would like to invite you, because this study is still ongoing during the show, and when we open our DVS Congress on Tuesday at 9:30, I think, we'll have Dr. Mann, who is the chairman of our working group on this topic, and he will share some information on the survey so far. Please join us and get more information. Okay, thank you very much.
I already pointed out that there's something special for small companies. For the next talk, I would like to ask Fabio Oettel on stage. He's the Managing Director of the Industry Fusion Foundation. And Stephanie Gray-Deitzler, Managing Director Sales of Nederman, a company. And this takes us to this point. The answer to the question of demand in the industry, there's the IF Digital Award. We already brought it here. So this is the IF Digital Award, which is supposed to connect appliers and manufacturers. And it will do that. Stephanie Deitzler of Nederman GmbH already submitted something, so she's here. And let's take a step back. Mr. Oettel, the Industry Fusion Foundation contributed to this award immensely. It's a corporation. So what is so exciting about it and why it is here in the first place? Mrs. Bastock, thank you very much. As Mr. Kurt already announced it, the IF Digital Award was created to show at the trade show that digitization is not something that will happen in the future, but is already tangible in the present. We had several applicants, I think at 21 in total, and there were even more applications, but we selected these 21 as finalists, so we can say these are only companies that really have an innovative digitization approach. So the award was created together with the Messe Essen, the host, and DVS as an accompanying, and DVS Media. They're also part of this corporation. Right. So we're all joining forces to show how relevant this topic is. Digitization of the industry will not happen all by itself. It needs to be done via associations, via companies, and we all need to join forces, and we'll come back to that so that we can really also transfer and connect data across the barriers of companies in WEC. So we want to be able to show the life cycle of a product. We had 21 applicants, and they're also on the screen, so you can see who's on this list of finalists. And the audience, it is an award that will be really voted on by the participants and visitors of the trade show. So congratulations to you, Stephanie Gray-Deitzler. You are offering clean air solutions and digital innovations at this year's trade show. And I get the impression you're everywhere, and in the middle of it, you're giving a presentation at the Future Hub. You're part of the award, and you have a great stand at the show. Why are you participating in this award? Well, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to present ourselves, and that we're part of the award selection. Also, hopefully we can win it, so we're hoping for your vote. Clean air is just our mission. Since 80 years, more than 80 years at Nederman, we're protecting people, production, and the environment from harmful emissions in industrial production environments. And we're developing our products since the over these 80 years, and the industry has changed, and digitization is a very important factor in it. Since a couple of years, we've looked into networking and connecting our solutions. We have a very broad product portfolio. So from individual extraction stations via mobile and hoods, we have everything, also stationary systems with a lot of intelligence in them, filtering devices. So the intelligent solutions need to be economical also for our customers. So this is why we applied for this award and have a great offer. protecting the air that we breathe is something that's very important for the future. So it might be very relevant for the award. Let's move on to the next chart. We have an intelligent control system, Nederman Inside, that can monitor everything depending on the sensors and monitoring system you are using in your production. And the system can optimize and analyze the situation. And the product we're applying for the IF Digital Award is Nederman Safe. You saw the extraction. That was a small percentage of production only, but it is still something that's not negligible, and Nederman Safe can help here, the intelligent control system. So there's an analysis of when there will be welding or other processes where we need to extract the air. So we really switch it on whenever a robot or a device is used, and it's not only switched on and off. The power or the air flow of the extraction system is analyzed, and we can save up to 70% of the energy needed, and we can really look at the different processes and make it very affordable for the user. Thank you very much. And on the next chart, we can see that there are more details on Nederman on the products in the press kit you will receive after this meeting. And in this context, in Hall 3A39, you will be during the trade show. And here's the QR code to participate in the IF Digital Award. And you or your colleague will be in the Future Hub at 11:30 on Friday. So you can also download the app already, so you can visit all the different stands and you can participate in the vote. So, Mr. Oettel, I would like to continue with you with your foundation. You are working at the front. You're seeing what happens in the industry and where digitization is being used finally. You observe the industry, the needs, the digital infrastructure. So what's the current status quo of the situation? Mr. Jetzenberg was already a great speaker talking about that, and it seems that we have really agreed, and we have the same picture actually. As a foundation, we also have observed the same situation. Many have not started digitization yet. There really is a lot of pent-up demand, and as a foundation, well, the foundation is set up of different equipment manufacturers, SMEs, from welding, joining, and other industries. And across these industries, we are working on digitization, because only then can it be a success. And we're looking at different reasons why digitization is not happening everywhere yet. Well, it's a very complex topic. There's so many different IT solutions, and the world is changing so quickly. 5 years ago, no one talked about AI and have not really heard about it, and now it's everywhere. And there will be new topics in the future. So the complexity is very high. And for many companies, there might not be the right resources to cope with it. And it's also a matter of finances. So the very small companies also should be able to participate in a connected industry. So that's very important for our foundation. And this is why we're looking at industry fusion, which should enable every company to participate in a connected industry. That's a great thing, particularly for companies who need to be encouraged a little bit. And you hold them by the hand and lead them the way. Well, what are companies that can use your connected solutions? Well, visibility is very important, and that's why you can take a look at this picture. Independent of the manufacturer, we're providing an open source solution. if you know other IT providers, if you have a proprietary software, you're dependent on that company. And many machine and equipment manufacturers don't dare to take that step. If you add an external component by an external service provider, you might be dependent on their solution. And then changing, it might be very difficult. I heard from a managing director who wanted to change an ERP system, and he said later he'd rather go through another divorce than change an ERP system because it's so difficult. And this fear, this dependence, is something we wanted to resolve by having an independent system. And we're developing one solution for all, and then everyone can benefit from the economies of scale, so it becomes more affordable, and the machines can be connected in an easy way. And for me, it's important to give also small companies access to the most recent technologies. So in the foundation, we're always bundling resources within our foundation so that all members can benefit from it. And there's no government in the background that supports us. We are really financed by our members only. So it's bottom up from the industry, from SMEs for SMEs, as I like to say. So if you understand that everyone does not need to build their own IT environment, but we're working on the same solution so that not 5 different systems need to be connected. Large companies can afford the programming, but smaller companies cannot. So the greatest digitization solutions are not worth it if they're not communicating with the rest of the systems. So this is why we developed the Fusion X standard that is manufacturer independent for data exchange. Well, that sounds great. That's a good impression. And you also will give a presentation in the Future Hub on Tuesday at 1:30. And if you want to dive deeper into this topic, you can go there and listen to Mr. Oertel again. I have a question to the two of you. Why? Well, you're using digitization, you're well prepared at Nederman, and you're also working on that, and you wish that there is more implementation of digitization. Why is it so relevant for the future from your point of view? Well, can we start with you, Mrs. Gret-Reitzler? Well, competitiveness is what we need. We need to be open and have the knowledge. We need to be able to see the opportunities. In the industry, I think we have to de-dust it a little bit. And we need to take the opportunities so that we can remain competitive and innovative. So this is very important, otherwise we'll fall behind. And we can work so much more efficiently and cost effectively. Yeah, I can only second that. We need to be more competitive and to really make the benefits of digitization tangible. So we have different projects. One I'd like to show you in more detail. It's AI. We're all talking about AI. And as a foundation, we have an open AI agent, a digital assistant for any machine. And you might be able to see it's similar to ChatGPT, but we're using it as a source of information not based on the internet, but the manuals, real-time data, and history of the equipment. So the information is validated, fits the machine, and you don't get any wrong answers. So ChatGPT, I think in the past it was like that, how big are eggs by elephants? You got an answer, and that shouldn't be the case. So in production, particularly when welding, you have very high temperatures, and if you get a wrong recommendation and there's a fire, everything is burning down, who's responsible for that? So very relevant. And it's important to know that we're working with German cloud providers? That's a question I keep hearing. What happens to my data? Where is it stored? Will it be in Germany or in Europe? What legislation is it based on? We're only working with German and Austrian cloud providers to have data safety, security. And let's come back to the price. We also have the prizes. We have the IF Digital Award because it will also show what kind of benefits can be generated with digitization. For example, Nederman is one of the companies.
One final question. You are now talking about AI, digital intelligence. In 2029, we'll have the next Schweissen and Schneiden. What is your vision? Where will we be in terms of digitization in 2029? One after the other. Okay, let me take this question first. 2029, automation, of course, is still ongoing. Robots, everything that we have seen in the industry. I think that we need a cultural change in order to implement this, and we are already working a lot in order to show the benefits of automation and digitization. And I think in 2029 we will have better clarity in the industry. We no longer have to talk about it. Everybody knows how important it is. Mr. Oettel, I can only confirm what was just said. Well, it's also good if you see that the opinions are aligned. I think we can really get all the benefits of the industry, all the production data, all the data that is still unused in the companies because they cannot be used by AI yet. So we have to automate this in order to continue to increase competitivity of this industry. So let's look around. There is a huge treasure to be found here at the show. Look around and find it. Well, thank you very much for this. A big thank you to you, Mr. Oettel. A big thank you to you, Mrs. Stefanie Greit-Reitzler from Nederman. Perhaps you can still stay here because we now can start the Q&A session if there are any questions either here in this group or from the live stream. And let me check my iPad. But now first let me ask all the discussion partners to join me. So it's Oliver P. Kurt, it's Dr. Roland Böcking, Jens Jerzenbeck, perhaps you can come back, Professor Uwe Reisgen, Patrick Reuter, and also Mika Daldrup. And Mr. Oettel and Mrs. Greit-Reitzler are already here. Perhaps we have another microphone as well. Let's look around in the room first. Are there any direct questions here in the room? What would you like to ask to these speakers? I can't see anybody who would like to ask a question. Okay, let me check the chat. Here I have two questions. Frank Köhnen first. He is representing the Metall magazine and he asks, where can I find more information regarding what Mr. Reisgen referred to? So more information about sustainability. The gentleman unfortunately is not using a microphone. Well, you can buy this report from DVS Media, so the sustainability report, but unfortunately it's only available in German, but it shouldn't be a problem in modern times. Yes, it can definitely be translated. I hope that this provides enough information to Frank Köhnen, but he's asking another question. In the last show, you were talking about stricter regulation on welding fumes. Have there been new standards, or is the situation not as bad as first feared? Mr. Jetzenbeck, who would like to answer? Mr. Jetzenbeck, what about these standards? Have they been implemented yet? No, these are not standards. It was about the definition of welding fumes based on European regulation, and there was a discussion to have a limit value for welding fumes in Europe. And the discussion also said that there might be some limits, especially focusing on carcinogenic substances, but we are still waiting for feedback from Europe. There was a draft, but this draft is now in the Parliament. I'm not sure whether it has already been passed. We think that we'll have a result by the end of the year, and then we know more. Okay, thank you very much. No more questions in the chat, but now we've got a question in the audience. Great, thank you. Yes, hello, Sarah Gottschalk from DWS Media. I have the following question. If we talk about young talent, what does it look like in the future hub, for example? Perhaps you could give us an example. How can young people be addressed? How can young people be involved in the program more than before? Mr. Kurt, Mr. Böcking? We already prepared ourselves. I already mentioned we hope that we will have 250 students from schools coming to visit the show, and we will welcome them. Mrs. Hase will do this, and I hope that we will find discussion partners who speak the same language as the young people. And it is necessary to really speak the same language as the young people in order to develop a sustainable relationship with the young people. Okay, thank you. Are there further questions? It's now your opportunity to ask questions. If there are no questions, we'll close for now. Should there be questions raised after the press conferences, we will make sure that you get an answer. Thank you very much for participating, no matter where you are. Thank you very much to all the participants in the live stream. Thank you very much to all the participants here. And we'll now stay on stage in order to have a wonderful photo for the press. And I would then say thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for having been here, and I wish you a great show between the 15th and the 19th of September. Have a great show with good contacts, great networking, and good business contacts. I hope you can learn a lot of new know-how and expertise. Have a great show 2025 with a lot of enthusiasm and motivation. Join the future. Thank you.
Wir machen jetzt einmal hier ein Pressefoto.
We'll now have a photograph, and then we will meet out